Hi there, and welcome to the Mindful Marathon podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk, a run coach and pediatrician. Mindful Marathon is all about helping runners of all types to run their own race. Whether you are a seasoned runner or you're just getting started, I want to let you know that you're welcome here and that you're in the right place. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on episode 78, and we are going to be talking about a topic near and dear to my heart, which has to do with Run Disney. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I want to start out by sharing that a couple of weeks ago, the running community lost a true running legend with the passing of Jeff Galloway. He passed away at the age of 80. And if you are a podcast listener, you know I have spoken of Jeff and his run, walk, run method many, many times. If you've been a podcast listener, if you've come to any of my virtual or in-person workshops, if you have met me at all, you know that I talk about Jeff Galloway a lot and how he was an inspiration to me and to many others. And so I wanted to start this episode by just sharing one memory, which was the first time I met him. I ran my very first half marathon about 10 years ago, January 2016, at marathon weekend. And Jeff was truly my very first running coach. So I used his plan. My mom and I trained with his training plan. And truly, Jeff got us to the start line safely and helped us cross that finish line. And it felt so good. And that race really planted the seed that would eventually lead me to run the marathon there a couple of years later. But at that time, all I knew is that I had this coach who believed in me that I could do this, even though I had never met him before. And even when I was not sure that I could do it. And when my mom and I went to the expo that year, I remember wanting to meet him and being very excited to meet him. And there was this really long line of runners waiting to speak to him. And, when I got up there and it was my turn, he talked to me as if I was the only runner in that room. And, I told him briefly about my story and he celebrated how far I'd come in such a short time. And he just gave me some encouragement and calmed a lot of my pre-race nerves and my mom's. He signed our bibs, and I still have those here at home. But I just want to say, Jeff believed that anyone who wanted to be a runner could be a runner. And he believed in movement and he believed in people. And I thought that I wanted to make a tribute episode all about him and to him. And as I tried to do that, I was getting upset and not able to really get a lot of words out yet. And so for now, I wanted to start this episode with this little tribute to him, but put a post-it on an episode dedicated to Jeff because that will certainly be coming in the future. I feel still very, very sad about his loss, but I also feel the impact that he has had. And, thinking about the thousands and thousands of runners he has helped over the years, and, the community that he's built, especially with the Run Disney family, the confidence that he instilled in people, the start lines he made possible, right? I'm just sitting still with the impact and the ripple effect. And that is really helping me. So for now, I am sending so much love to his family, his friends, and to all of us who were lucky enough to know him and to meet him and to see him fairly often at Run Disney race expos over the years. I mean, I remember telling him about the evolution of how I became a coach and started Mindful Marathon. And I'm not sure if he remembered any of that, but he certainly made me feel as if he did and as if that was the most special thing he had heard all day. And so I keep that in my heart, and I will continue to share his run, walk, run method, and will continue to speak of him on this podcast. And yeah, put a post-it in a tribute episode to Jeff when I'm able to speak more eloquently without breaking down into tears in the middle of the episode. So we'll try that maybe in a few months. So, keeping with the Run Disney theme this week, this is the perfect segue. I want to talk today all about proof of time. So, what the heck is proof of time? Why should we care about it? And why am I talking about this? So, the good news is that my niece and I were able to secure race registrations for the Wine and Dine race weekend that's coming up in October. Now, you may remember that my niece and I ran in the Wine and Dine weekend 2 years ago, so 2024. That was my niece's first half marathon. And so I'll reflect back on that a little bit, but she is 16 now and she is already planning ahead. So she FaceTimed me on Sunday night and was kind of like, Auntie M, that's what she calls me, Auntie M, what do we do about this proof of time? And I know you were talking about this, and do I need to plan to run a race? And when do we need to submit it? And all the questions. So I just was laughing to myself. So if she is planning now, we all probably should be planning too. So if you're running the half marathon or the challenge at Disney's Wine and Dine half marathon weekend in October, the proof of time is due June 1st, which is going to be here before we know it. So, this episode is going to be a practical one, so you can learn about this, see if you need to deal with it right now, and then check it off your list. So, first of all, what is proof of time? So, proof of time is basically a verified race result that you can use for corral placement on race day. So for the Wine and Dine weekend, that is a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon. The proof of time is really needed for the half marathon or if you're running the challenge, which is the 10K plus the half marathon. The required distance for a race that you would submit are multiple. They can be a 10K, a 10 miler, a half marathon, or a marathon. The race has to be an officially timed race, US ATF certified, and the race has to have taken place between January 1st, 2024 and June 1st, 2026. So if you don't submit a race for proof of time, you are likely to be placed in the last start group or the second to last start group of the race. So this is really for those who believe they will be running faster than 2.5 hours. And if not, that's totally fine. And you can select when you registered for the race, you can select, 2.5 hours or less, or 2.5 hours or greater. But if you select 2.5 hours or less, it's going to ask you to submit this proof of time. Now, you might be asking, okay, so I ran a 10K or I have a 10 miler time already. How does Run Disney convert that to a half marathon to figure out where to place me in the corrals? Now, I don't have all of the ins and outs of that process because I'm not on the inside of Run Disney, but I imagine that they use a pace calculator of some sort to convert to the alternate distance. So, what I would do to see how your time in the shorter race extrapolates, or if you ran a marathon and you want to use your marathon time, you can check out an online pace calculator. So, I like the one from Hanson's Running, which you can find at lukehumphrey.running.com. And you just type in the length of the race that you did in your race time. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, it will show you what that race time looks like at shorter and longer distances. And the one you're most interested in is the half marathon time for this to see how it correlates. Okay. Now I want to talk about why start group placement matters. So on paper, the races start at 5 a.m., which is really, really early. And if you've never done one of these races before, I can't explain sort of the amount of humans that are there at the start line, but these are massive races. And we can't all start together. The course would be extremely, extremely crowded and nobody would be able to run. So they separate us into multiple corrals, and then within the corral there are different groups that you'll be separated into, just so that there are controlled amounts of people going across the start line and then breaks between when the next huge group of humans goes across the start line. So this is for safety reasons, and also I think for everyone's mental health. This is a really great way to do it. But with that said, you have to go into this realizing that you're probably not going to start at 5 a.m. unless you are at the very, very front of Corral A. If you're starting from the back corrals, you may not start until 5:30, 5:45, closer to 6 a.m. So you can be standing, waiting, and, slowly moving forward, but you could be doing that for nearly an hour. Now, I can't emphasize enough the Florida heat, my friends, the Florida heat. It seems to be there often. Even in January during the marathon weekend, when there's the potential for it to be cold, it's often hot. So I want you to think about the Florida sun, and that starting earlier means you will finish earlier. And, even though, again, the race starts at 5 and maybe you cross the start line by 5:30, but that sun shows up really quickly. And when it shows up, it is hot. So I'm speaking from my own boiling experience. It is okay, but it is better to start sooner rather than later if you can, especially on a hot day. Now, another reason why you might care more about your start group placement is if you are concerned about your pace, or if you would like to run with a pace group or simply run with similar paced runners. Sometimes it can be very frustrating, no matter the pace, whether you are a faster runner or a slower runner. It can be very frustrating to have people around you running at dramatically different paces. And so, to minimize the frustration of your experience, it's best to be in a corral with similar paced runners. And especially if you would like to run with one of the run walk pace groups that are seated into all of the corrals based on the proof of time requirements, with the slower runners being, closer to the back corrals. Another thing to think about would be part of the thing that makes Run Disney races so fun is that they have characters out on the course. And a lot of people love to stop for character photos, but know that, the further back you start in the race, the lines for the characters will get longer, right? Because there's just more people out on the course and stopping to take photos. So if that's important to you, it may be important to start as close to the front as you can. And so submitting a proof of time can help you to do that. Now, a note that if you don't have a proof of time, or if you are a runner who is going to run the half marathon longer than 2.5 hours, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And in fact, I've started from the back corrals many, many times and have had a very magical time. I will make a note here that if you're running with family or friends, when I ran the 2024 race with my niece, she did not have a proof of time. And so my corral placement, I think, was corral B, and my niece's was D. And so I dropped back to D to run with her. So you can always drop back, but you can't move up. So you can drop back to run with your friends or family, but you won't be able to move up. So keep that in mind as well if you are going to be running with a friend or family member. You may both want to consider submitting proof of time, and that is where the FaceTime call from my niece came into play this weekend. So here is my step-by-step for what to do. Okay, here's what to do now. Step 1, check your past race results. So you may already have a race that qualifies for this proof of time. Don't create extra work if you don't need to. Okay? So in order to do that, just look back at your race results again from January 1st, 2024 through the present, looking for a 10K, 10 miler, half marathon or marathon. plug that into the pace calculator, see what it comes out to be, and then just enter that information into your Run Disney registration, and then you're done. Now, if you need a race or you would like to run a race to submit for a proof of time like my niece, now is the time to start looking. So step 2, if you need a race, start looking now. And I would recommend, if you're running this Wine and Dine weekend, a 10K works for half marathon proof of time. So I would choose a flat local course, a local 10K, run that for time. This is not the time to pick like a hilly, difficult trail race, okay? This is a flat road race that is easy to get to, that doesn't create extra stress in your life, and run that for time. To find a race near you, I've mentioned this website before, but runningintheusa.com is great because you can filter by the race distance. So you could filter by 10K, put in your zip code, and then put the dates that you're free. My niece has a very busy spring season up ahead. She is a dancer, she's got dance competitions, and she is taking a lifeguard training course, and she is living her best life and has a lot going on. So she gave me about 3 weekends to play with to find a race. And so that is one way to do it easily on runningintheusa.com. Now, last but not least, I just want to give you a little mindset tip here. So I think that having the proof of time, if you know that you want to submit a proof of time, or if you know that you are a runner who will finish the half marathon in 2.5 hours or less, or all of those other reasons I mentioned, like you anticipate that you would like to do character stops, etc., I would say that planning ahead reduces race day anxiety. And like I said, that June 1st deadline will sneak up on us. And so I'm trying to save you from having a stressful May when you realize that the proof of time is due in a couple of weeks and then you're scrambling to find a local race to run for proof of time. And also, we have a couple of weeks, right? So we have time to train for that 10K if you haven't been doing so much running lately. So I think handling these details that may seem small, handling them early creates some mental space, and this will just put us in the best place possible to feel prepared as we head into training for this race weekend as the months go on. So, in closing, I would encourage you to check your race history today. So, after this episode is done, go check that out, see if you've got one that you can submit, and update your Run Disney account with that information. And then just a reminder that that June 1st deadline will sneak up on you. If you need help choosing a race or reviewing some strategy for a proof of time race, please reach out to me. You can find my contact info in the show notes, or you can find me on Instagram at mindful.marathon and send me a DM. I would love to talk about this. I love Run Disney and I love to talk about Run Disney races. So that's it for today, and I will see you all next week. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. And if you have a moment, please rate and review the podcast so that we can reach and encourage others to tie on their sneakers and join us out there on a run. See you next time.